been 162 days since Loretta Lynch was nominated to replace Eric Holder as the nation's next AG, and still no vote. As you saw earlier, this isn't going over so well with President Obama, and his party couldn't agree with him more. On Thursday, Senate Minority Leader Reid addressed the situation during an interview with MSNBC's own Rachel Maddow.
We put up with this far too long, and we're going to either have a vote on her very soon that's created by Mitch McConnell, or I'll create one. I can still do that. I know parliamentary procedure around here, and we're going to put up with this for a little while longer, but not much.
Little head swinging by Reid. On the same day, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest chimed in as well, spending several minutes during a news briefing to lament the now historic delay.
There is no reason why she shouldn't be confirmed today by the United States Senate. The worst crime is their refusal to even allow her to come up for a vote. It's shameful, and it should change today. Being nice has gotten us a 160-day delay.
Loretta Lynch, a U.S. attorney who holds 2 degrees from Harvard, is the longest-waiting AG nominee in 3 decades. And so, Vince, we were talking a little bit in the break about just the logistics of not having whatever debate you want to have in the context of an actual vote. But now to the politics of what Reid is saying. He was like, I know parliamentary procedure, I'll just force a vote. But is that really practical?
I don't know if it's practical or not. It's a little bit like Professor McGonagall saying, you know, in the Ministry of Magic, I'll cook something up, which I'm kind of digging, I'll tell you that. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that someone, and I think Reid needs to use his political capital to move this thing forward as quickly as possible, because it's about momentum. It's not necessarily about parliamentary procedure. It's about what is not happening and what the community groups and the folks that we identified really feel is not happening. And here's really why it's important. Even if you think about it in the context of policing and all of this other kind of stuff, under Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the Department of Justice can and, of course, should start holding police departments accountable for their funding, and that she will have the ability to say, yes, in order for you to get federal funding, you're going to have to demonstrate equitable policing, you're going to have to demonstrate that you're doing these things in the right way, and this is the political moment for that stuff to happen. So Reid and the Democrats need to step up and force this thing to happen, because there's no debate, really, that's happening.
Well, they can't force the debate to happen, Judith, without getting at least 4 or 5 Republicans to go along with this parliamentary procedure where 51 senators could force a vote through. If we could put up that map of the 24 Senate seats, Republican Senate seats, and 10 Democratic seats are up. Look at that map. That is the Senate cycle we're coming up. Those are, all those red spaces there are the senators that can be targeted by Reid to get him to sign, to get Republicans to sign on to this idea to force a vote. Do you think that can work?
Well, I mean, that map is really decisive. I think, you know, the map shows that there is a logjam in Congress for a reason, and in fact, I think it's showing that there may not be incentive, right, for people to jump ship. There may not be incentive for people to want to move because they've got to hold it down at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, Cristina, about just this. It's a hypothetical, but what would happen in theory among women of color if Loretta Lynch were to say enough? If she were to be like Barack Obama, that was Barack Obama, not Barack Obama, enough. And if she were to say enough, if she were to do what Susan Rice did when it came to her nomination at state, with what Debo Adegbile ultimately had to do when he couldn't get nominated in the Civil Rights Division, if she were to withdraw, would that even be worse politics here?
It would be horrible for them. It would look awful, right? I mean, if she just said, I refuse to be treated like this. I mean, I think what's interesting is one of the sort of circulating debates that you hear in particular places, whether it's on Black Talk Radio or other places, is the feeling that she's being disrespected, that she's being treated in a really disrespectful manner. So if she were to walk away and just say, I'm done with this, I think that would just be a huge, huge political problem for the party, right? I mean, just the wave of outrage. I mean, the thing is, I think people often in the public who aren't political junkies and, you know, members of Nerdland don't necessarily know the names of these folks and aren't really following this closely. But the timing of this and the 5 months of this has actually created a constituency of people watching and committed and interested.
Yeah.
And so if she were to do something dramatic like that, that would have a really big impact.
She could be like the Lonnie Guinier of the current era. But on the other hand, Matt, could Republicans redeem themselves in the way that you described in the previous segment, meaning have the hearing and raise substantive objections where it then becomes a debate, or would hectoring her over civil asset forfeiture while she's sitting in the dais actually make it worse?
I don't think that would make it worse. I think it would make it better. We're in a year right now where we're likely to see a series of very, very important criminal justice reform, bipartisan measures. Rand Paul and Cory Booker are teaming up for a bunch of things. On civil asset forfeiture, on repealing sentencing guidelines, and a lot of things are happening right now. This happened because of grassroots activity on the right and the left pushing people, pushing Eric Holder at long last to kind of start peeling away the asset forfeiture regime. So what I would say to everybody out there is, yes, pay attention to all this Washington kerfuffle, but realize that the way that you're going to change behavior and policies right now is to take advantage of a lame duck presidency where you could see his heart is probably more in the area of reform, but he's lacked the courage in his entire presidency to, you know, commute sentences, to actually do great things on the drug war, which he could. Use this next moment to push that and use the confirmation process to push discussion on these ideas, because we are right. The Koch brothers and the ACLU are teaming up on this stuff right now, for crying out loud. It's time to do that. So if Republicans were smart, they would make the hearings about that so we can have more momentum towards these important reforms.
Yeah, this is a very important discussion, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and award the victory to Matt for using the word kerfuffle on Nerdland. Kerfuffle on Nerdland. What's better than that? Thank you so much to Judith Browne Dianis. I think I've been calling you Dianis, and I call you Dianis, but I love you, and you know. And Vince Warren. Matt and Cristina are sticking around because up next, the people who say 17 candidates for president, that's just not enough.